Now I want to make clear for all of you two concepts that usually get confusing for us. Tafsir and Tadabbur. I'm going to define these two terms for you. Tafsir and what? Tadabbur. Okay. Tafsir is basically, am I understanding the ayah correctly? What do the words mean? Do I know anything about when the ayah was given to the Prophet ﷺ? What is the context of the ayah? Is it being translated correctly? Is my understanding the lesson I'm supposed to get from this ayah, am I getting that correctly? That is tafsir. And tafsir work, our scholars have done centuries and centuries of work on tafsir. Sometimes they have debates in tafsir. We'll see that too. Sometimes there's debates. But for the most part, tafsir is basically research-based. You have to do the research. What does this word mean? What does this ayah mean? How did the companions understand it? What was the story behind this ayah, etc., etc.? All of that is the study of what? Tafsir. Okay? The mufassir, the people who wrote tafsir, they had a few basic questions in front of them. And when they answered those 3, 4, 5 questions, they moved to the next ayah. Then they asked the same 3, 4, 5 questions, then they moved to the next ayah. What does the ayah mean? When was it revealed? What did the early scholars or early companions say about this? Did the Prophet ﷺ say something about this, etc.? There's a few questions. Once they answer those questions, they move on to the next ayah. Okay? Now then there is, and by the way, in tafsir, if you went through a tafsir library, it would be like going to like the literature department in the library. You have different kinds of literature, right? And under each category, you got different books, but there's kind of similar genre. There are different kinds of tafsir, different specializations in tafsir. Al-tafsir bil-ma'thur, al-tafsir al-lughawi, al-adabi, al-ishari. There's all different kinds of tafsir. And each one of them, there's multiple people who did lots of work in each one of those categories. So tafsir is a big world. It's a very big world, okay? But at the end of it all, it's where scholars do their work to try to explain the lessons of the ayah in simple language to you. Okay? Now, that's tafsir, but there's one more thing. What was the other thing? Tadabbur. What in the world is tadabbur? Tadabbur is, okay, now I know what the ayah means. Now I know something about the history of it or the placement of it and all of that stuff. I answered all the basic tafsir questions. What does it mean for me? What is this ayah they're doing for me? Like, what do I get from it? How does it change my view of the world? In other words, there's the information, and then there's the impact of that information. You understand? Tafsir will give you the information. Tadabbur is basically an exercise. How is this impacting my heart? How is it changing my view of the world? How is it supposed to change my emotions? How is it supposed to change my opinions? Because these ayat, they're talking about something that happened a long time ago, but they're also talking about my life right now. That's tadabbur. That second part is tadabbur. Now, the problem that has happened in the ummah, and I say this, you don't have to agree with me, this is my own analysis. People that study tafsir feel like they don't need to do tadabbur. Tafsir is enough as tadabbur. We studied the tafsir, that's good enough. And then people on the flip side came along and said, these people, all they do is read these tafsirs, but they don't really connect with their heart to what the Quran is saying. I want to read a translation and I want the Quran to talk to me about what it's saying to me. I'm going to do tadabbur myself, right? So now lots and lots of Muslims are reading translations of the Quran and trying to do what? Tadabbur. So the people of tafsir are not doing tadabbur, and the people of tadabbur are not studying tafsir. And this is a disaster. Because if you don't have the correct basic meaning, and then you start contemplating on top of that, you're going to be crazy. You're going to come up with crazy conclusions, but your heart tells you it works. This, by the way, down the road, this is what happened with a lot of denominations of Christianity. A lot of denominations. I was very fascinated with American Christianity because it has so many branches. And one of them, I was fascinated for a while with Joel Osteen. You guys know who Joel Osteen is? Okay, well, he's from Houston. He's a preacher, very famous, right? So I went to one of Joel Osteen's Christmas specials. just to see what he does. I just want to experience the thing. And he took a passage from the Bible where there was the Lord sent dew. Dew means like the morning misty moisture on the leaves and things. That's called dew. He goes, and the Lord said, there shall be dew. So this year you're gonna have your dew. And then he starts doing everybody like your job's gonna work out this year because the Lord's gonna give you dew. And that divorce, oh, it's finally gonna finish, and you're not gonna have to pay no lawyers no more. That's your due. And I was sitting in the crowd, and all the people's like, this is my year of due. You know, this was like everybody's buying into it. You know what he's doing? He's taking something from the Bible, he's coming up with this like fantastic thing, and everybody's singing along. You know what that is? That's his version of tadabbur without any what? Any tafsir. Right? But on the flip side, whoa, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said this, Ibn Kathir said this, Qurtubi said this, Tabari said this, so you shut up. You know what that is? I'm going to quote everybody. I have all this information. Now there's no need for what? There's no need for tadabbur.